Let's mark your cutout pattern for the hoodie now. So in front of me, I have a variety of choices that you have now, including doing it with a tailor's tack and the thread and a needle. Before I start showing you marking points, we're going to do our test to see what works best on our fabric. So I'm going to move this aside for a moment and put my pattern piece up there, kind of out of the way for just a bit. And I have 2 scraps of my fabric here to do my tests with. So the first thing I did was I got out my tracing paper and put it on top and bottom on the back side, right? And I did just a little test. And yes, it marks nicely. You can see that that's where I marked it before. A little faint there. I didn't push really hard. But I went to see what it would do when it presses. At first, just coming off there, it's like, no, I don't see it on this side of the fabric, the right side. So I went and pressed it with steam. And it did make it blur. You can see that in this one. Makes it a little smudgy. But lo and behold, it really sets it. And then it starts to show through. So now I've got a faint blue line starting to go through on both pieces. So I don't recommend the tracing paper for doing any big lines, that's for sure. Maybe out here on the seam allowance, it would be good, but nothing that you're in the interior or past your seam allowance, okay? So only use this if it's out in the seam allowance itself. And then I got out my chalk pencil, or you could have just a piece of chalk or whatever, and I went, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That shows up pretty nice on here. But then I did press on that once and just saw what heat will do to the chalk. And it is, you can't see it, but I can tell it's starting to faintly come through. So I'm not sure again if I want this out in the body of the garment too, because I have a funny feeling it may bleed through with some steam and not really wash out really nicely. So I don't think I'm going to use chalk at all. So I'm going to put that to the side. Then I got out the friction pen, those erasable pens that when heat touches it, it actually goes away. And I did it several times over here on this side and this side. And my piece is getting a little stretched out there because I've been doing so many tests on it. When this gets pressed, it goes away. So I'm going to take it over to the iron real quick and bring it right back, and I'll show you. So heat and steam, and it's gone, right? On both sides, it's gone. I caution you though, because it can start to take away color. It doesn't look like it did this time, but just always do the test to make sure. So the friction pen is a possibility. Okay, if I wanted to use that, the erasable pen, the gels, they go away from Pilot. Then my trusty one is my pencil, and I use the pencil a lot. Duller, not sharp, right? We want it dull, and I always use the edge, right? I know this is going to wash out, and I know that it isn't damaging the rest of the fabric anyway. Okay, so this is a good possibility yet. Then I have out my Mark Be Gone, and those are these marks all along there. And lo and behold, when I take it over to just steam, it doesn't remove it. And I'm afraid it's setting it. I haven't taken and put it in water yet. It's supposed to be water soluble. I would not trust this out in the body of my project. In the seam allowance, yes, you could be doing some markings there. But if you have to go out past the seam allowance, your best bet right now is pencil and possibly a friction pen or thread marking, the tailor's tack. which we learned before. All right, so now that I know my array of tools that I have tested, it's time to start marking some things. I have the band here because, I did want to show you something yet, because there's one more technique that I am going to use in a couple of places. And that's snipping into the seam allowance, or leaving little snips. Remember how we talked on the woven, we could do that on notches that maybe we forgot, right? Well, we can do it on knit as long as you check your knit and test it. Because if it wants to start to, it's not going to run, right? Or unravel rather, but it might start a run. And I was pretty concerned about it on this soft rayon piece, but I've been playing with it here enough, and the little ones don't seem to want to take off and do any kind of run or pull. But I would be very careful of that, right? But it does look like I'm going to be able to do it as long as I keep them at those small snips and not go any deeper for sure, and make it a clean snip, and I think you'll be fine. All right, so doing a little cut and snips. So on the hemband, now remember I extended my hemband, bottom band, to calculate it with my increase at the back of my garment in the hip area. So this had to be changed a little bit. So I'm technically not on the 1X, and I'm not right on the XXL. I'm next to it here when I did my calculations. So this square is important. However, it is up in the body of the garment, right? The seam allowance will go right through it. So half of it is up there, half of it is not. So what I do in this case, I will either come in here and use, not my Be Gone, I will use my friction or a pencil. Now I don't know where, there it is. The friction pen or my pencil. And I will just make a longer mark right where it is, so that I know that that's where it's at. It still will be fine in this case. And if I don't think that's good, marking the other one so I can get it accurate in the seam allowance. If I don't think that that's good enough, and I'm afraid I'm not going to see that, I could take my friction pin, right, the Frixion, or whatever they say them, and go up there and do this. The problem is I'm going to get ready to starch this edge. That means I'm going to have heat going on there. That means this is going to go away. So this is not, in thinking through things, this is probably not my best marking because it's going to go away. I could come up with this, but being very careful that it doesn't get past my stitch line, I don't think that's a good choice. So the best one I know of is, you could use the chalk. Like I said, you could use some chalk if you did a test on yours and make that mark right there where it's at. The other thing you really can do is make sure it's unfolded here and we're still out in the outer seam, is make an actual little snip right there that's in the center, points to that center where we know that this is going to happen. Now we need to do that on both sides here. Now down here is a notch, and for me, I think that I will do two little marks. This is part of the problem with it not being right at the moment that you do the cutting. It's had its time to relax. So what I would do is do the two bottom edges like this, and then get that marked on the back over here. It will take you a little bit of time to do all of this because of the knit rolling. All right. And if I wanted, I could do right in the center of that too. If I'm concerned about my lead not being quite accurate, I could do my little snip there. Okay. Down here, these are not ones I need to worry about at all. Nothing here. I'll need to do that side. The one marking that I want you to do that is not on this piece is this center back. It will be very important when we start to put the hemband on to know where the center back exactly is. So a little industry trick is to take that folded edge and take just the tip. And now that's going to leave this little notch right there. And that's my center. And we're going to do it on both sides. Just a little snip. And that will really save us a lot of time when we get ready to do the band. I'm going to set this aside. Like I said, it still has a couple more to do on it, but I want to move to a different piece. All right, let me get another piece over here. Okay, it's the back, and that has a center fold as well, and it will be important to know where center back is when we get ready to do things. And you can see that I already snipped that little corner on the pattern, because if I had done this opened up as a flat piece, I would want to know that. I'm just going to take that pin out. That should help us. And just looking at the pattern. See the little snip there? And I did talk about that if you did happen to watch making the whole piece, the half piece into a whole piece of pattern. But I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do that same thing. Make sure that it's still folded where it's supposed to be. And on this, at the center, just that little snip, that's going to mark my center back at the top, which it'll be important. And then down here on the bottom, it will be too. And you can see I did that on my pattern making. There's a little V out. So now I'm going to do it down here, because this is the one that we'll use with that band that we just did this to. We got to know where the center back is on the pattern. So I'll do that, and then I'll check. Oh, we've got notches, and I did catch them. They're already on, so I don't need to do anything to those. But we do have a circle up here. The extra large right there is the circle, and it is starting to curl under, so we're going to try to get him out flat again. Lay this down. Okay. And now a lot of times with this, there's a couple of tricks you can do here. You could put a piece of tape over that. Okay. Now we'll pin him back in so it doesn't move on me. And now through that tape, make a hole with your pencil. And if it's not wanting to go through that way, you can pick it up, make a hole, right? So now I can do a little lead dot right there, and I can come back and go, okay, so I'm going to put an X through it, through the center of that, just like so. Hold your pencil at an angle and use the edge to get the mark, right? And now to get it on the other side, we'll do our little trick with the pin. I'll put it right through that one, making sure that everything's still laying flat like it was cut out. Nothing rolled up. And now I'll go back over here. Get my little mark. Pull out the pin. And now I'm going to make a cross right through that. So now I have this circle marked. This one is for the double XL. I didn't do that up here. I used the plain XL. So that would be marking on the back piece. And like I said, if you cut those off and didn't get something to do it, then you can do any one of these techniques. We just did that on that other one and on the band, and you saw how that worked. Okay, one more I want to get out in front here, talking about marking. And that is our sleeve piece. Now, if you recall, I had you cut the sleeve out in a certain way because it's got that dart up here, right? And I told you to cut out around it like this. Don't worry about any of it. Here's my exact cutting line, right? So we're going to first go ahead and cut it down just a little bit, but I am not going to cut that out. I'm not going to do that. Some people will. I just find that it's a point of problem that some people run into, and it's better to not cut it out at first. So I'm going to make sure I'm all pinned down. My fabric isn't rolled under there since it's been setting. And now I'm going to cut like this on my line, my dashed XL line to that tip. And then I'm going to come over here, and on this curve, I'm going to do this one. Okay, so we have that piece away. And now right here, I'm going to go in like this. And cut it away. Do not go from here up to there. Leave some return here. We're going to learn about the dart names, the parts of a dart. We're also going to learn why this return is, I wanted you to leave it here right now. And now we're going to mark this dart. So we would want to do a tailor's tack here. We will do one here and one here on those triangles. And then you could choose another one up here. First, let's identify which is my line. It's this one here. That's the line. And over here, it's this one. Okay. So the 1XL right there left behind. And the 1XL apex of the dart is that one. Clear over there. So I'm going to do one quick move you in here. I'll be right back because I want you to see it. Okay, so I got the camera up close a little better so that you can really see what I'm talking about. So I cut to that tip right there. And then I came and I cut this away. And now I did not go like this over to here. Don't do that. I've gone out from here, over, and then up. Because you'll see why when we actually sew the dart. So now, the one thing that I always do on my dart legs, so I know where I'm matching my base of the dart at, is I am going to click just a little bit right on that stitch line and right on that stitch line. So I've given myself a marking, just a little one. This one looks like he needs to be just a little bit deeper. Didn't go very far. There we go. There. So I've got a marking on this side and a marking on that side. Okay. So I've got my base matching. Right. Now I want to go, I know I need to mark this one and this one. And I'm actually going to add another marking. But to do that, you really should measure up the same distance. Okay. From the apex, not from down here. I want you to measure from that apex. And we're going to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's do it at 3.5. So they'd be right there. And then we're going to take this one at 3.5. And 3.5 on this line is right here. So they look quite similar, right? We talked about that, having them be similar. And in the same place, but this is also a slight curve in this dart. It's not a straight. It'll also end up having some cut away after we're done making the dart. So now we're just going to go in. I'm going to put a tailor's tack here, 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 and here. So I'm going to pause for a moment, and then when I'm ready with my thread and needle, we'll do that. All right. Okay, I'm back. I have my one strand of thread in my needle as a double threaded, right? No knot in the end, just like we learned in our tailor's tack. And now on the triangle, I'm going to go at the top here like this. And then I'm going to come in at the bottom of it. leave my 1.5 to 2 inches of tail, and then I'm going to go over here at the bottom of this one on the triangle and come back there. Now, when I'm leaving my hoop, okay, I haven't unpinned anything. I want you to realize that because it needs to stay in place because we are going to be picking it up a little bit just to make sure that we have gotten it to the other side, which we do. Okay. And now I will snip away, leaving behind that, just like that, right? And I'll show you one more, doing it one more time, and then I'm going to pause the tape and I will come back with them all done and we will open them up together. So I went on the line and left my tail, going all the way through at the base of that, making sure that I have my tail. Pull him back just a little bit. Actually, we don't want to pull that one. We want to pull this one. There we go. And cut him there. Okay, I am going to do these other 3, and then I'll see you back from that. Just a moment. Okay, I'm back now. I've got all 5 of those in, and the loop's cut. Oops, I missed the loop right there. Let's get him. Okay, so all the loops are cut, and it's hanging out. I need to mark the rest of this pattern piece before I start to lift anything up. So let's talk about what else we have here. We have some circles. So I'm going to do that little trick where I'm going to put a piece of tape there. So I'm not really puncturing too much of the damage to the paper tissue pattern. And getting my hole. If you have an awl, remember you could do it that way. So there's that circle. And now we'll use a pin and go and do it through, just like that. We would do that over on this one. And now on the sleeve, there's a couple of other places to mark. We have a double notch over here, and I did get that cut in. So we've got that one. It's good. Oh, I hope you saw the dart there when I finished it. If not, there you go. And I was doing this circle up here, okay, because I'm up close. I didn't realize that. So here is the small one that we need to mark. And then, like I said, I got this one cut in when I was cutting. That's good. So I don't have to worry about him. But there's a single over here on this side that I didn't get cut. So I need to mark that before I remove this tissue paper and pins. And then on the sleeve itself, let's just go back out a bit here. Okay. On the sleeve body down here, the arm of it, there are 2 notches that you need to make sure that you get. One there. That one I got cut on. This one I didn't. And then down at the bottom, there is a very important one. This is a very important one down here. So make sure it's either cut in or you've got that marking right there. So I'm going to go ahead and go through all of my other pieces, and I'm going to leave this on here and not do my cut apart until we're ready to do the sleeve, and then I'll show you cutting that apart. All right. Happy marking. Bye.